And we are live.
Okay.
Oh, can you turn your mic off?
I'm sorry?
Can you turn your mic off?
Oh, I didn't know it was on. Let's see.
And good afternoon, everyone out there from Ontario, Canada. My name is Mariel Kovacs, and welcome to Let's Talk, Real Talk on wow, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. We are here today with a special guest, Professor Dr. Reagan, and she is here for Just Peace from the Ukraine. We are going to talk about what's happening today out in, it's long overdue. So I am a Hungarian, and Dr. Reagan is here to speak on Ukraine. And I grew up in an environment that has been, wow, devastating to myself, to my family, and my children since 1986, coming from a military background and living overseas. I was contaminated from the nuclear Chernobyl times, and it is still for 38 years haunting me. But when I talk to people that have gone through so much devastation over the years, I found myself not blaming people of countries that are being bombed and through the wartime, but mostly the prime ministers or the presidents. They all seem to be lacking empathy and supporting the people that really need help. And recently on the New York Post, I have read that the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has been a headache for the European leaders who try to take hard lines on Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Orban, a longtime Putin ally, has repeatedly called on the European Union to halt its military funding in Kiev and rejected many efforts to allow Ukraine to join NATO, much to Moscow's delay. Working for the military myself, I found that, we bring peace to all these countries and to support them. So when they get rejected, it's very heartening to know that they're out there to destroy many, many people. So to have Professor Reagan join us today, I've got a lot of questions to ask, and I'm sure our viewers would like to know really the truth about things as well, because of what's happening in the US with President Trump and Putin being so close together. Like, who do we trust? So welcome, Dr. Reagan, Professor Dr. Reagan. I am so grateful to have you on
Thank
our
you for having me.
talk.
Yes,
So,
thank you so much for having me.
well, tell us a little bit about yourself, like your background and how you got to this point. I mean, tell me more about the Great Leap Forward, and how does this venture relate to the Ukraine, if at all, what you do?
All right. Well, first of all, I'm a business professor. I've been teaching for 30 years. I teach. I teach. I have taught on ground, and now mostly since the pandemic, I've been teaching mostly online. And so I teach in Ukraine online. I teach students in India online, and so I'm a global professor. So I'm kind of a I'm not in Ukraine, but I'm global. So that's why I teach people all over the world. Um, but Great Leap Forward is a nonprofit that we're in the process of starting with. I'm starting it with the executive director and founder and president, Orlando Arena Canero. That's his name, and he actually has a little message he wanted to say. He said he's very big into judo, and he says that Putin gives shame to judo and he thinks and he believes that there should be a regime change. And of course, I agree with that, because judo is about honor and integrity, and that's something that neither Trump or Putin have. And then also, I have a PhD in management, and on this organization, we're basically a mental health education organization, and our target audiences are pretty global. We concentrate on some in the U.S. and in different places in the U.S. and also in Latin America, and of course, obviously Ukraine. And we're very focused on helping people that either that are youth, troubled youth, or people that uh, have traumas or war traumas or abuse or other things in their lives, and we're trying to reach out to people. Could be in school districts, could be in various types of settings. So it's an organization we're in the process of getting off the ground. So hopefully, you know it'll be in the process of being launched very, very soon. And that's basically our mission, is to help either people with disabilities, mental disabilities, people that have challenges of like I said, war trauma, etc. Uh, you know,
Right.
so, so that's pretty much that organization. And I also have 4 master's degrees, and I have my PhD in management.
Wow, wonderful. So how big is this organization? Like I know your clientele will be a lot because of the damages they're going through, like by the thousands and thousands, right? Are you big
Well,
enough
it
to
is a
help
global.
everybody?
Well, it is global. We're starting out small, but we're going to eventually, branch out. Right now, it's very small. It's only 2 of us right now, and well,
Oh,
actually,
okay.
there's a third person. There is a third person, but it's very small right now because we're only in the process of launching right now, and we have some videos and things for education to help, people in these different markets in need. Like I said, between people in the U.S., maybe refugees that are from Ukraine, Latin America, and of course Ukrainians too. So as we grow, we'll kind of get more and more into more of our mission. But it
Right.
takes time. So
Takes
it's
time. It does. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it takes time. So
yeah.
how long historically has Russia been committing genocide against Ukraine?
Well, it's been going on for about between 300 and 400 years. It started in 1721. I'll give you a little background.
Okay.
Ukraine has been around since Kiev Rus. And of course, I know people say Kiev. Kiev is the Russian way. We say Kiev.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and Kiev has been around since 988. Kievan Rus was started by a prince and a French queen. And I'm also French. I have a French background. And people and then started their culture, and they started their language. In 1120 was Muscovy. Muscovy was the original Russia. Russia took the name from Rus. Russia was never did anything original. So they stole the name from Rus, and they started saying that they started Kievan Rus when that was really Ukrainians. People were speaking Ukrainian in Kiev Rus. Russian language didn't even exist at the time. The Russian language didn't even come into play until about the 1100s. You know, um, and then you know, and then in 1721, when Peter the Great and then later on Catherine the Great came into power, and the czars, they started to oppress anything that was Ukrainian. Uh, and that continued into the 1800s. In fact, Taras Shevchenko, who is a very famous Ukrainian poet, wrote a lot of poems about the oppression that was going on. And some of the oppression that was going on was banning the Ukrainian language, burning Ukrainian books, uh, killing Ukrainians just because they were Ukrainian. And this has been going on for many, many years. Then fast forward to 1917, uh, when the Russian Revolution took place. In 1917, the Ukrainians decided to become independent. Uh, and so they made it, they started the Republic of Ukraine. And then, of course, when the Bolsheviks came in, who was the Red Army under Lenin, they forcibly annexed Ukraine, and it became the Soviet Socialist Republic of Ukraine, which is why they don't like the term the Ukraine, because during the Soviet times they were part of a republic, so they called it the Ukraine because it was part of the Soviet Union. And during that time, the Soviets uh, had also committed genocide against Ukrainians, and especially during the Holodomor. The Holodomor was a fake famine, and there was actually three Holodomors. The main one that most people know about is the main purge of Stalin in the you know by Stalin in the 1930s. But there was also a Holodomor in the 1920s, and there was another one in 1944. And these were because of collective farming, that the Ukrainians were given such quotas that was so high that they could never eat anything that they grew. Everything had to be collective and put
So
out to, to the other socialized farms, and they were never able to eat anything that they grew, and a lot of them starved to death, and there was about 4 million that starved to death.
my
Uh,
mother would tell us her stories growing up
yeah,
from Hungary. She was born in 1932 during the wartime.
yeah, and that was, well, actually, 1932 was the interwar period. That was during the Depression.
Interwar.
Right, that was the
Yeah.
interwar period, but that was during the Holodomor. That was the main
Yeah.
Holodomor. There were 3 of
Yeah.
them, but that was the main one that she was involved in, and it was horrible. It was just really, really horrible. And, and then when they let's fast forward to 1991, uh, when, the 'cause we're still on the idea of the genocide, when, Ukraine became an independent country, uh I mean, for the first few years, things were okay, and then in 1994, they signed the Budapest Memorandum, which I think has a lot to do with why uh, Russia was able to invade, because under the Budapest Memorandum, the people of Ukraine had given up all their nuclear weapons, and at the same time, Russia, the UK, and the United States were supposed to guarantee them security in case that they were invaded. And obviously, twice the Russians invaded them in 2014 after Maidan, because they saw the Euromaidan as a coup, and that was when when the 11 during the Heavenly Hundred there were 100 people that were killed
Right.
because protesting. The Yanukovych had sent in police to start shooting the students and the protesters. And then right after that, by a sham at gunpoint referendum, then Putin then annexed Crimea, and then of course annexed the Donbass region, uh, which included Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. uh, which of course, in 2022, half part of Kherson was liberated. And none of these, by the way, none of these oblasts are fully under Russian control, even though they think they're theirs. And
Right.
that's a point that I like to make, that Russia really doesn't control any of them except for one. I think it's the I don't know if it's the Donetsk or the Luhansk, but only one of them is fully controlled. The rest of them are not fully controlled by Russia. Uh, and the fact is that this idea of genocide has been going on since 2014, uh, and since the all-out invasion in 2022, February 24th. Um, the Russians have been killing people in cold blood on the streets, like what happened in Bucha when Vance said that that was propaganda. He says, "Oh, take us on a propaganda tour." He said to Zelensky, he
Is that
should go
JD
to
Vance?
Bucha. JD Vance. He
Yeah.
should go to Bucha and see what actually happened. I
Yeah.
mean, it was disgusting. The Russians were just killing women and children and raping them, and going into people's homes and stealing I mean, stealing kids'
Everything.
toys and toilets and appliances they would go up to a person and just shoot him right in the head. There was a guy on a bicycle that just riding his bicycle, he got shot dead. And there was a woman's arm that was just an arm that was in the street. I mean, that's how
Inhumane.
it was horrible. And this happened in Bucha, this happened in Izium, and this happened in Sumi.
And that's
And
2014.
no, this was 2022.
20,
This
oh,
was
this was just
this
recent.
was in the
Oh,
all-out
okay.
invasion in
Since the
2022, in
okay.
March of 2022, and it
Right.
continues. I mean, just last year, they shot at and blew up a cancer hospital for children, you know? And I know
Didn't
you had
Hungary
said
take didn't Hungary take some of the people into their country during that time? I mean, Hungary was helping them.
yes, in the beginning they were. Because I guess it was without Orban's, permission or something. Because I know the president, it was a woman, I know she's pro-Ukraine, you know?
Right.
But unfortunately, the prime minister has too much power, and I think that's the problem is that Orban has way too much power. But,
Mm,
because she has met with Zelensky, the president, Kate something,
right.
yeah, can't remember her name, but I know she has met with Zelensky a few times, and, uh, because I know the Kyiv Independent had mentioned that, the Kyiv Independent had mentioned that, they have met a few times. I'm a member of the Kyiv Independent,
Oh, are
and
you?
yeah, I'm a member of a lot of, also United 24, which was, a nonprofit that was started by Zelensky, and I'm also a NAFO member, uh, North Atlantic Fellows Organization, which actually started by the 69th Sniffing Brigade in Lithuania. So,
Oh,
and that's
wow.
yeah. So we give like donations, and we kind of advocate for Ukraine and everything like that. So
Good for
that's
you.
that's what we try to do. It's just really horrible. But Ukraine and the genocide continues. I mean, it's just was it a few days ago? They blasted apartments in Kiev and in Odessa. And this morning they attacked Kivy because Kivy is the birthplace of Zelensky. So
Right.
the Russians
Well, didn't
and
they have a chat line there going bombing Ukraine?
well,
So
the chat line, as far as I know, the chat line. Are you talking about the signal that with the administration? Is that what you're talking about?
yes, yes,
Well, yeah. Well, that was more. I think that was more internal with the United States, as far as I know. I think that was more of internal affairs. But I think that was with Tulsi Gabbard and Vance and Mike Waltz and all those clowns. So I think it was mostly that group, and they were talking about some national security issues, and they were comparing it with what Hillary Clinton did. But Hillary
right,
Clinton talk about she was talking mostly about a grandbaby and things like that. She wasn't talking about national security issues on a chat line.
exactly,
That's the
exactly.
difference. That's the difference.
Yeah,
It depends. Not saying she didn't do wrong. I mean, she did, but this was worse because they were talking about things that affect national security.
right.
And
And weren't they in Ukraine when they were chatting? A few of them.
that I'm not sure. I thought they were in the United States. I'm not
Well,
sure.
I watched it and I heard that a few of them were in Ukraine talking back and forth on the chat. So the security breach could have been gone to Russia. It could have gone anywhere, right?
Of course, it
I
could have.
mean, everybody
I
could
know
have heard
that
it.
I know that signal is used a lot in Ukraine. I know because my students had told me that it's used a lot in Ukraine. Whether any of the people were in Ukraine, I know some of them were in Saudi Arabia at the time because there was a summit in Saudi Arabia in how you say Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Is that how you pronounce it?
Hmm.
Yeah, I believe that some of them were in Saudi Arabia at the time. I don't know if any of them were in Ukraine. You might be right. I don't want to profess to say something that I'm not sure of. Uh, you may be right, but as far as I know, I only knew about the ones that were in the United States and Saudi Arabia. But if they were
Yeah,
in Ukraine, then that's. I mean, it's still wrong wherever they are. What they did is
exactly.
disgusting.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they
I
need
don't
to
care if
hold
they
them
did it on
accountable.
Mars. I
Well,
don't care if
that's
they did
it.
it on Mars. It's still wrong. I mean,
Right.
it's just
You know, They talk
Yeah.
about wanting peace, right?
Hmm.
Trump and Zelensky, and he gives Zelensky heck because he's not, you know, dressed in a suit or something. And then these issues that arise because of what they're doing, they're sneaking, they're be going behind people's backs
That's
and
exactly
doing
right.
these things, right? And I'm glad
And
they kind of got caught because now we could see the trueness of what is really
exactly,
happening and how they really
exactly.
don't want Ukraine to get peace.
No, they all Trump wants is he wants to either be on somebody's final exam or regent's exam as a hero, or he wants the Nobel Peace Prize, and he's not going to
Yeah,
get it. That's
he's
all
not
he
going to get it.
cares about. He
Yeah,
only cares.
exactly.
Trump only cares about Trump. He doesn't
That's right.
care about you, me, or anybody else. He only cares about Trump. And and this whole idea with what he's with trying to say that Canada should be a 51st state
Yeah,
is
come give
so
me a break. As if, you know,
absurd. It's
I'm a
ridiculous.
true blue Canadian. I'm first
Generation.
generation. My parents
Yeah.
were born in Hungary. They became American citizens. Then they came to Canada to become a Canadian citizen. I ain't gonna change my country. So,
Oh no,
like we earned our right to be here and to have our
that's
own
right.
country. And we
That's right.
helped so many millions to come over from all these devastations, not just wars but there's,
I know a lot of
weather,
refugees. I know there's a
climate
lot of
change,
Ukrainian refugees that are that come to Canada, for refuge.
right?
There's a large, especially in Ontario,
Mhm.
and I'm also a big hockey fan, so I love Canada. You know, I'm, I mean, I have to be honest. I'm a big hockey fan, so and they're always been great when it comes to that stuff. So I can never understand how Trump can do what you know I mean, Canada is a beautiful country, a bilingual country, and I speak French and I obviously speak English too, but I also speak French. And I think so many wonderful things have come out of Canada. They've been a great friend to the United States, for so many years. And I think this whole thing with Greenland is ridiculous too. I mean,
It
it's
is. It's
absurd.
sad.
It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, you know, the whole idea is that, these are your allies. I mean, you're not supposed to treat them like that. And he
Well, that's
thinks that
it.
Rush is his friend because Trump has this idea. Trump is an alpha male, and he likes other alpha males. He likes dictators, and he thinks that that's power and control. And I'm sure that's how he treats his wife too. I wouldn't doubt it.
Oh,
Uh,
I was
you know,
married to one, and I know exactly.
yeah,
Dictator all the way. And,
yeah,
I could see it in Melania's face, the way she moves.
yep,
You could see that
hmm,
she's being coerced, conditioned.
and
You can't
dominated.
tell
Yeah,
me, yeah, you can't tell me she's happy and, you
no,
know, swats his hand away through all those inaugurations and everything that he's gone through. I mean, come on, a supportive wife would be hanging
hmm,
on to him, not swatting him away.
of
Don't
course.
touch me sort of deal. I mean, I
Yeah,
think I would say the same thing,
because
but yeah,
he doesn't treat her right, and he has such a background with women that's really
well, that's
disgusting.
it. That's
But
disgusting. She needs to step forward and say, you know what, you're a predator, dude. Get away from me. And, he's already been to prison. He's already been condemned. And yet he's the president of the United States. And that's just so heartening to know that these women have to fear their lives all their lives and the young girls growing up. This is, and the young boys even. I mean, boys are getting raped just as bad as girls are.
oh yeah, of
Um,
course,
I mean,
yeah.
it's happening right now in
And in
Ukraine.
Ukraine, even men get raped too in Ukraine.
That's
I mean,
what I was just
Russians,
gonna say. Yeah,
yeah.
they're
I mean,
desperate.
Russians don't care.
They'll do whatever. They don't care. They're just
Well,
it's gone rampant. But let me get to the next question. So what do you think is the chances of Ukraine victory? I mean,
well, I think they definitely will have a victory as long as Europe and the West stays united, and all of us, keep advocating for Ukraine. Ukraine has one of the best armies in Europe. I mean, they have exceeded NATO standards. They are amazing, and they are an amazing group of people. Their technological advancements in drones, like with the FPV drones, and even the long range Neptune. And I mean, they have done so much when it comes to military technology, that well, they're probably the best fighting force on in the planet right now. So honestly, and they have a lot of good experience.
And is
So
that why they're taking away the weapons and all the help that they need because they know they're so powerful and so well put together?
I think it's because of Russia. I don't think it's because that of that. I think it's more because of Russia. Everybody fears Russia, and remember, like I said, Trump loves Putin. He likes all these alpha males, these power. And look what he said about Deng Xi Jinping from China, and he likes Kim Jong Un. I mean, that's so he likes all these dictators.
Dictators.
He sees them as powerful, and I think that's what it is. And he doesn't like Zelensky. Trump does not like
No, he
Zelensky.
doesn't. No.
And it goes back to 2019 when he got impeached, when Trump got impeached because he asked Zelensky to dig dirt on Hunter Biden, and
Mm.
Zelensky said no because Zelensky took the high road. Zelensky has class. And he said, I'm not going to get involved in your elections, and I'm not going to get involved with your politics. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a Biden fan, never was. I'm a Reagan conservative. Okay. I am not a Biden fan. But at the same time, you know, and also I'm also considered conservative by the French standards as well. I like Macron, but either it doesn't matter. The whole idea is that um, it's the whole point is that Zelensky had class, and he
Yes.
is not going to get involved in somebody else's elections. And as a result, Trump got impeached, and now he has a vendetta. And that whole thing that happened in the Oval Office was a setup. That was
Yes.
definitely a setup.
It sure
And
was.
bothering him because he doesn't wear a suit. I mean, if
Yeah.
they went back in history, they would realize that Churchill didn't wear a suit either.
Well, look at Elon Musk coming in with his cap. I mean, aren't you supposed
Exactly.
to take your hat off when you enter a building? I mean,
Yeah.
where is the couth in him?
Yeah. He has.
Why haven't they told him to put a suit on and, take
Yeah.
off your hat and be more respectful? I mean, it
Exactly.
goes both ways.
Exactly.
So you could see he
Exactly.
was just being a bully, picking on him, like JD Vance getting up and say, "Where's your suit?" You know,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
really cool when
Exactly.
Zelensky says, "Well, maybe I'll get a nice one, maybe better than yours." I mean, we need to fight back. We need to put these people back into
Exactly.
their place because a
That's right.
narcissistic personality, they don't they don't know their boundaries. They
Mm.
just keep going and keep going and pushing and pushing and pushing. I mean, I was married to one for
They
30
have no
years,
boundary. They have no
and
boundary.
it just gets worse. It gets
Yeah.
worse. So, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they need to be
They
stronger,
have no
and
boundaries.
no, and Zelensky's doing the best he can to hold his own composure, which that's what we need. We don't want a president or a prime minister or anyone who's just mouthy fighting back.
Mhm.
That's verbal
Mhm.
abuse, and if you
It
want
was.
voters, you
They were
gotta be
gaslighting him.
respectful.
It was total
I mean,
gaslighting. They
that's
were
it.
gaslighting him.
They were
They were treating
gaslighting.
Yep. They were treating him like and manipulating him to make him look foolish when it really they looked foolish. They looked like the clowns. You know,
Exactly.
Zelensky actually looked more professional. All he did was ask the question. All he did was say, "What do you mean by diplomacy?"
Yes.
And you got to realize that English is not his first language.
Right.
Even Ukrainian is not his first language. He grew up speaking Russian because they were Russified. The whole eastern part of Ukraine was Russified.
My
If you
mother
remember
was.
when I
She
was
spoke
saying,
better Russian than Hungarian,
yeah, yeah, because
because they were forced.
yeah. So he grew up speaking Russian, and then he learned Ukrainian, and then he learned English. English is his third language, so he may not have understood what they meant by diplomacy, because in
Right.
Ukrainian it's diplomatia, is how you say it in Ukrainian. So he may not have put it together, and then also the context of what do they mean by diplomacy, because Russia is always breaking their ceasefires. They broke 25 ceasefires. They cannot be trusted. Look what happened with the Budapest Memorandum, as I was alluding to earlier, when I said that that was signed in 1994, and look what that happened. That was violated.
It was
I mean,
violated.
and then you
Yeah,
had the Minsk Accords in 2014, 2015. Those were violated. Minsk 1 and Minsk 2. I mean, they're
right.
not worth toilet paper. I hate to say it.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
it. Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
terrible. So you can't even trust the Russians, and that's another point I want to bring home. You cannot trust the Russians. You
No, you
cannot
can't.
trust Putin. Putin is a liar. Okay, and the Russians have lied. Like I said, this has been going on for 400 years. This
Long time.
anti sentiment, constantly burning Ukrainian textbooks. Oh, and in the 1920s, I forgot to mention earlier, there was a Ukrainian renaissance of artists and all these cultures and intelligentsia, intelligent people in academia. A lot of them were killed just because they were Ukrainian.
Mm,
They were
yeah.
murdered in cold blood just because they were Ukrainian, and it's
Yeah.
still happening today. I mean,
It's
people in Kiev, people in Kivy, like I said this morning, happened. Every day they're bombing Odessa. Every single day, these people are getting bombed. Kharkiv. I mean, that city is so resilient. They're getting bombed every single day with Shihad drones.
unbelievable.
I mean, it's just terrible what these people are going through, and
Wow.
it's got to stop. And if there's anything I can do to get it to stop, I know I'm only one person and I can't do much, but it's got to stop.
I know.
Russia needs to be defeated.
Yes, it does. And we're here in Canada. We're here to support Ukraine as well. I mean,
Excellent.
we
That's
do the
great.
best we can for every country out there. I mean, our Prime Minister Trudeau was right there handing them, supporting them. That was the good thing about him, that he was doing that. Uh,
Yes.
and but to bail out the last minute is it kind of left Ukraine in a crunch as well. And now we got Mark Carney, so I'm hoping Mark Carney can do something, put Trump into his spot and say, stop, stop. We got to help Ukraine. We need to get
I'm
peace.
sure
And
he will. I'm sure Mark Carney will do
I'm
that.
I'm hoping he does. I mean,
I'm
he's
sure
a
he will.
financial guy. I mean, he's into the money and stuff. And I don't know how much more he knows. We all
Yeah.
learn by listening to all these politicians out there.
Yeah.
But
Well,
here we are. We're already 35 minutes into the program, and we've still got a few more questions. So I don't want to hurry you, and I don't want to keep you too long. But
oh, it's fine.
um, the next question is, how do you think the current U.S. administration policies on Canada and Greenland relate to Ukraine?
Well, as I started to allude to earlier, I think it's about expansionism. I really do. I see that. I think if Trump would have went to the prime minister, if he wanted to have a base, to protect against the Russians on Greenland, all he had to do was be nice and go up to the prime minister of Denmark and just say, I have an idea. Let's have a meeting and discuss it with her. But you don't go and act like a bully and start trying to take over the country. That's not the way to handle it. If he wanted a base, he can just talk to her. As my grandmother always said, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. And there would have been a way to be diplomatic and kinder about it. And being as an ally, maybe they could have worked something out, but not to take over the country. That's just expansionism. And they did a referendum with people of Greenland, and they said they don't want it. I think it was like 65% said no, and
No.
so they don't want to be taken. If he wanted a base, then he could have worked that out with the prime minister and talked to her, the prime minister of Denmark. And as far as
Right.
Canada has been a wonderful ally of the United States. I mean, they all play hockey together for years. I mean, like I said, I'm a big hockey fan, so I kind of look at it from that perspective.
Football, hockey, all kinds of sports. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even like you said, even football. I mean, they have the Canadian football. You have the American.
American,
You know,
NFL. Yeah.
Yeah, the NFL, and I'm a big Eli Manning fan, as I mentioned. So I'm an NFL fan. I love football. And I just think that it's just terrible that to say to Canada, I want you to be a 51st state, and to
Yeah.
and to issue all those kind of tariffs. First of all, that's like screwing your best friend. I mean, it's like you don't do that. I mean, Canada is like the United States' best friend. I mean, you don't do that to your buddy. You just don't. It's just wrong.
No,
And the
it's
thing is,
almost like,
Canada and
sorry, it's almost like he's playing that game of risk. Just
yes,
take, moving
yes,
in. He don't care. He just bumps the next country and the next country. And then
yeah,
if he takes one, he's going to take the other and another. Well, he wants to rule the world. We all
yes.
see that.
It's
And
expansionism, just
nobody's
like
ever
Putin.
done that, right?
No,
And I
no.
see him zooming in on everything and everybody.
Yes. And that's why I feel it's like Ukraine, because it's like what Putin's doing to Ukraine. He wants to expand. He wants to control Ukraine in the same way that Trump wants to control Canada and Greenland. And the Canadians are a sovereign country. You're a Commonwealth of the United Kingdom, and you're a sovereign country, and a bilingual one at that. And many speak French, which is great. And I just could never understand that. I mean, my two favorite hockey players were born in Canada. Bobby Nystrom of the New York Islanders, and Dennis Potvin of the New York Islanders. And so, you know, how can you like not love the country? I mean,
Was it?
when, I mean, well, actually, Bobby Nystrom was born in Sweden, but he grew up in Saskatchewan. He was born in Sweden, but he came to Saskatchewan when he was 4 years old. So I mean, how could you not love them? I mean, and a lot of the New York Rangers, some of them came from, there's a lot of, I mean, guys like Jean Rattel, and old New York Rangers from the 1970s came from Canada, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and Rod Gilbert and all these great players. I mean, how could you not love the country?
Well, that's
I mean,
it.
they're old
And
timers. I mean, they're old timers. They're from the 70s, but the point is like, this just shows how long that the two countries have been so close together.
right. And that's like the Canadians going over to the United States. I mean, I've been going over to the States all my life because my family is American.
Yeah,
I have,
sure.
I've gone to St. Louis, Florida, California to visit all my families
Yes.
from all over Buffalo. And now when we go, no one goes over because we're all terrified of, being arrested or put into concentration camps where women aren't supposed to be going, but apparently Trump put them in, in
Oh, it's disgusting. It really is.
it's just horrible with the fear we have to go through knowing that, we can't go over to the US, and the US are scared to come over here because they might get condemned when they go back. You
Yeah,
know,
it's horrible.
it's
It's
really
horrible.
bad.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what is
I mean,
what
I've
is
been to
that?
Montreal. I've been to Montreal so many times, and it's beautiful, beautiful
It's
city.
beautiful.
You know,
Canada is a beautiful country. I mean,
it
we
is.
we have
It is.
lots to offer here in Canada, but so is the States. The United States is gorgeous. I mean, I spent my whole life in Canada and the United
Yeah.
States,
No,
and I
the
traveled
United
all
States is
over
a pretty
Europe.
country too, and my
Yeah,
country of origin, France, is beautiful. I mean, they're all beautiful, and that's why we all have to work together,
we have to
and
work together to keep it
yeah,
that way.
exactly. And that's
It's
why we need unity in order to help Ukraine, because if we're
yes,
unified, we that's the best way to help Ukraine, because this way
right.
it's not working.
No, sorry,
A
my
house
screen
divided
was
will
black.
always fall. A
But
house
yeah,
divided
and if
will always fall, as Abraham Lincoln once said.
right. And if Ukraine gets wiped out, what's going to happen next? Who will be the next one? I mean, Hungary was the biggest empire there was at one time in the 1700s. And then,
Austria-Hungary. Yeah, the
yeah,
Austria-Hungary Empire actually was around up until like the early 1900s, actually, until
1900s, was it?
until World War One. Yeah,
Yeah. And Hungary had to give up a lot of their country. But I mean,
sure.
it came to Poland, Croatia. I mean, all these other little
All these
countries
other
around
countries
it.
that were formed as a result. Yeah,
Yeah. So
Austria.
Hungary built countries
Yeah,
to make, unity instead of being bombed. And Hungary said, just leave me the Danube and take whatever you want. And,
right. Yeah,
and,
yeah. The
here,
beautiful Danube. Yeah, it's a beautiful
yeah,
river.
So,
You know,
why can't we have presidents like that, to continue to make
mhm.
things better for that country, instead of taking it all,
Well, if
you
you think
know?
about the European Union, all those countries were empires at one time, and
Yes,
now they're all beautiful countries working together and multicultural and working in harmony and unity, and it's just beautiful.
it
You know,
is.
and that's what we need, and we need to have a Russia has as a reset. We need to show peace through strength, like Ronald Reagan and Barack Obama had both said. You have to show strength. You have to show peace through strength. You cannot be weak. And even Zelensky has said that, and many other people have said that. That's the most important thing is peace through strength and
Yes,
just peace. In order
it
for
is
it's not
just
that
peace.
Ukraine doesn't want peace, they do, but it has to be a just peace. Ukraine belongs in NATO. That's the
Yes,
only way to secure a security guarantee. They need to be in the European Union and they need to be in NATO.
yes. And I'm glad all those countries are protecting them.
Yep.
So, the next question. What did you think about the exchange between the administration and Zelensky in the Oval Office?
Well, as I alluded to earlier, I thought it was a debacle. I call it a debacle. I thought it was a setup, and I thought that JD Vance was even worse than Trump, but they were both
Hmm.
horrible. They were gaslighting Zelensky, saying you didn't respect us. Don't you respect the Oval Office? He was very respectful. He just asked a question, as I said before. English is not his first language, and so that's his third language, and he didn't understand because, like I said, uh, he didn't understand what the word diplomacy because in Ukrainian is diplomatia, you know, and so it has a slightly different angle, based on culture, because language and culture are very very tied together. And Vance, I don't even think he's ever been out of the United States. And then, like I said before, when he said that thing about a butcher as a propaganda, you know, a propaganda thing. I mean, come on, these
They
people.
need a history lesson.
He needs a history lesson. He really
Yeah.
does. Like I said before, I mean, look at all the people who were killed in cold blood, you know, and I'm talking about even babies, little children.
Yes.
And that's another thing. Look at all the children that was stolen from their parents and
Taken to
stolen
Russia.
from their country to Russia. That's genocide.
That's
That is
genocide.
absolutely genocide,
It's
and
just
killing
horrifying.
elderlies and killing elderlies and killing, civilians and bombing hospitals and schools and kindergartens and playgrounds. This is what Russia does. Russia
Yeah.
is genocidal. Putin is a genocidal maniac. He needs to and belongs in The Hague. He's a wanted criminal in The Hague because of what he did with the children. Him and Maria
Yes.
Lovabova. They both belong in The Hague, and that's what we need to enforce. We need to enforce that.
Oh,
He needs a war
yes. Yes. The more we think about him, the more we get frustrated. So, what do you
exactly.
think about Zelensky as a wartime leader and Putin as a war criminal?
Well, I think Putin is a genocidal maniac. I think he has dementia, and I definitely agree with the founder and president of the Great Leap Forward, Orlando Marina Cadero, when he said that he deserves that he's a disgrace to judo. So I definitely agree with that. He brings shame to judo because he's actually a judo player, and that he should be taken out. He should be literally taken out. I mean, he's disgusting. He's been, and it was really funny in 2007. I remember George Bush saying, that he could see it in his soul, and then George Bush and him were talking, and Putin turns around to George Bush and says, "Ukraine is not a country," and George Bush just looked at him like he was nuts. Like, what do you mean Ukraine is not a country? It was like, and then in 2008, Ukraine had and Georgia had the chance of being in NATO, and unfortunately, it was blocked. And it was just ridiculous. And so I think that Putin has turned into a maniac. I actually lived in Russia in 2006. I was teaching over
Oh,
there.
did you?
Yes, and I do know a little Russian. I'm not, I was teaching in English, but I do know a little Russian, but not a whole lot. enough to order food, stuff like that. But I did live there for a good part of 2006, and at that time it wasn't that bad. At that time, it was still considered a democracy. But shortly thereafter, little by little, it started to become more and more of a dictatorship, especially after 2011, and then, of course, absolutely after Maidan. And then, as far as Zelensky being a wartime leader, like I said before, I think he's even better than Churchill. I think when he made that quote in the beginning, when Biden had offered him a ride out of there, and he says, "I need ammunition, not a ride." That is what is great. The president is here. The prime minister is here. We are all here. Like, he didn't run away like Yanukovych and all these others. He didn't run away. He stood strong.
Good.
Stand
Yes.
strong. I think he is the greatest wartime leader in my lifetime, and he might even be even better than Churchill. I mean, of course I wasn't born during Churchill's time. I'm not that old, but I think that he is an amazing leader. I think he has a lot of class. I think he's very diplomatic. He's always thanking Trump, so I don't know why they keep saying he doesn't appreciate. He's always thanking the United States of America. I mean,
Yeah.
the appreciates, you know, what he gets, and the help that gets. And what people forget is that he's not getting money. He's getting old weapons. The
Yes.
money stays in the United States, because what they're
Rejected
doing,
weapons.
they're building new weapons like the F-35, so he gets the old F-16s, for example. Okay, or if they build new tanks, he gets the old Abrams tanks. That's a
Yeah.
perfect example. He's getting the old weapons that we would probably mothball anyway. So
Right.
it's not like, we're giving all this money like Trump says, and the MAGA movement says.
Right.
You know,
Well,
it,
the Canadians used to buy the old weapons from the Americans that the Americans didn't like in the
hmm
military. So we
right.
got it. So, and then Trump made this comment about selling off or giving them weapons that are like 10 seconds delayed in advancement so that, they can't shoot. They can't
hmm
protect themselves because they're getting rejects, right?
Yeah,
I
which
mean,
is wrong.
he's
Yeah,
planning this already. Like, why would you say that out loud, first of all? And why would you want to give weapons that are useless? That's going to destroy their country. That's
because
so sad.
because he wants to ally with Putin, and he wants
Yes,
the power of being in
exactly.
that alliance, and that's why he says these things,
Yeah,
because
we
he
see
wants
it.
to be
We
aligned.
hear it,
Kind of
but
like
he doesn't hear it.
The
Yeah,
axis of evil,
he's not hearing himself. He,
and he doesn't
he, he
care. He
he
doesn't
doesn't
care.
care. He doesn't
No,
care. Whereas Zelensky is a people person. He cares about his people. He's
yes, he
there
does.
to protect them.
Yes,
While
he
we
is.
got a president in the United States that wants to destroy them. So
Exactly. I mean, I
this
have
is
seen Zelensky, laugh and cry with his people. I have seen him hug them. I have seen him he goes on the front lines with his soldiers, his men and women in uniform, and he's there with them. He goes to see the injured when they're in hospitals. You ever
mm,
see Putin do that? It's a rarity you ever see Putin do
never.
that. And if he does
No.
do it, it's a body double.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. He's only doing it just to photo shoot or whatever. But it,
exactly.
yeah, he
Exactly.
wants to stand by a dead person and act like he's got a heart. He's got a heart of stone. I mean,
Exactly.
it just, and Trump's the same thing. He's doing all these
Exactly.
photo shoots and pretending he's got a crowd in front of him, and meanwhile he's only got 10 people, and those are his 10 people, like JD Vance and all them, that have to kiss his butt, basically.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
if they don't, because JD Vance one time in 2016 trashed Trump, saying that,
He
that
did.
he's
Oh, yeah.
untrustable and all this and this and this, and now he's kissing his butt because money
Mhm.
talks. Now that
Yeah,
he's
money
got
talks, and because
Elon
yeah,
Musk's money,
yeah.
he could pay off JD Vance and say, "Oh, he's the greatest president. He's going to do that." Right, dude. Like, come on.
He
Does
wanted
your
he wanted
wife?
to advance his own career, and that's
Yeah,
why he decided
yeah,
to be nice to Trump, so this way he could become vice president, eventually become president. But
yeah.
But in the beginning, he did not like Trump, and you're absolutely
No,
right.
at
He did
all.
trash him in 2016. I
He
remember it
trashed
very
them
clearly.
to
Very
the
bad.
point where he wanted to bring them down, and this is why Trump went to jail. And and now you're a traitor.
Yep, exactly. And he had the
And
nerve to call Zelensky a traitor.
yeah,
When Zelensky is there fighting for his people, trying to protect his people, and he's doing very similar to what FDR did during the Depression and the fireside chats. He goes on like now, and now he, of course, he doesn't do social media, because of technology, but he speaks to his own people, very, very similar to what Franklin Delano Roosevelt used to do, to try to,
and respectfully.
build up and and kind of comfort his people, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah, yes. Not like how we got the United States president screaming at the people out there, and his attorney general Pam Bundy,
Oh yeah. Oh, Pam Bundy
throwing
is
out the
she's
BS, and they
Pam
don't
Bundy
give
is
a.
just a product. She's just a product of the administration.
That's
You
it.
know,
That's yeah. Money
whatever he
talks
does,
again. Yeah,
exactly. It's all
yeah,
about money. They're
yeah.
all oligarchs, and that's why they're all pals with Russia, because it's all about money. They're all oligarchs, and they all want to get a piece of the pie, and the whole pie, including the cheese and the plate to go with it.
Right. Exactly. So
So
we got one
it's
more question.
sure.
So what does Ukraine want in order to secure a lasting peace?
Okay, first of all, we'd like to have the all the territories back. That is, those are Ukrainian territories. Ukraine wants to have Donetsk, Luhansk, um, Zaporizhia, and all of Kherson, liberated part of Kherson. We want all of Kherson, and Crimea. Okay, uh, and Ukraine wants security guarantees, meaning that this is not going to happen again, which means that they want to be in NATO, or have some other security guarantee, but preferably NATO and the European Union. And they want to make sure that Russia will never do this again. I also want Russia to pay reparations to rebuild the country, which, by the way, some of us are already helping with doing that now. Like with a lot of these organizations that I'm
Right.
involved, we're
Nice.
little by little helping to rebuild as things get destroyed, trying to, because a lot of things have been rebuilt already. In fact, even I think Bucha has already been rebuilt after all the
Oh,
damage. So
wow.
that's good, especially that main street. So
My
a lot of the
son's
stuff has.
my son's in the Navy, and he went over there last year
Mm-hmm.
to hold peace, Canadian
Mm-hmm.
Navy.
Oh wow.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
I've got my
So
our
they train
navies are out there helping. So
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, and a lot of the a lot of the damage has been rebuilt in some areas. Some of the earlier areas, but now there's a lot of places like Bakhmut and Avdiivka and all these places that are just level to the ground. I mean, there's so many areas in eastern Ukraine that are just level to the ground. It's going to take years to rebuild them. So we need to get Russians frozen assets, and we need to use those for reparations to rebuild these cities, because they're level to the ground. I mean, whoever is living there, if anybody, I mean, they have nothing. There's no stores, nothing. There's no infrastructure. It's just completely leveled, and that's terrible. So the other thing is that they want to make sure that Europe is strong and unified, and that they want to just, and that's what they mean by a just peace. They want to make sure that this will never ever happen again, and they want Putin in the Hague. They want him to be tried. He's a war criminal. He needs to be
yeah,
tried. This is terrible. And same with Maria Lvova, want their children back, because those children were taken from from their homeland, told to hate Ukraine, told that their parents don't want them, Ukraine hates them, told them to hate their own country so they can build them up and make them Russian soldiers, and that's disgusting. So
that is
we
horrifying.
all of us in the West, all of us in the West, we want this, we want a just peace, and we want those children back, and that's the only way to have a just peace, and it has to be done through strength. Russia must be defeated.
Yes. And Trump needs to stop siding with Putin. I mean, he's an American leader and he's talking points of peace, and yet he's destroying everybody out there. Where
And
is the
nothing
peace in
about
all he's
Ukraine without Ukraine.
yes, yes. This is just horrific that, the US within what, 2 months, not even 2 months, has caused such chaos.
It's
Not the
horrible.
US, the president of the US has
Right, the
caused
president
so
of the
much
administration.
chaos
Yes,
that,
exactly.
I thought Ukraine was actually coming to an end of war, and since he stepped in, it's getting worse.
It is.
They're
It's getting
going
worse.
behind Ukraine's back, spying on them, sending
Oh, it's
out
horrible. Oh, it's
missiles
horrible.
and bombs, and
The Russians just keep bombing every single
they
day, every
every
single day.
single day. It's just horrifying. I mean,
People die every day.
hasn't the Ukraine already suffered enough in 1986 with the Chernobyl nuclear disaster? I mean,
And
that
yes, and your question about that, yes, we can close with that. With the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, the problem there is because they used graphite. They had old technology, and graphite continues to burn. So what happens is when you have plutonium, which is a natural radioactive element on the periodic table, that just keeps spewing out radioactive activity, which has
yes.
caused many people to have cancer. And I think you mentioned that in your family, I think you said that you had
Yes,
that, which is terrible.
I developed 3 types of cancer. I had, 4 children born while I had the cancer because they couldn't
Wow.
remove it, in Europe. So my first child died of it, and then my husband at the time, he ended up getting testicle cancer, so they had to remove it. Well, there's no great lots there, but,
No, I
it
understand. Yeah.
but I have a lot of friends because we were all posted there,
Right. That
and
had
we all
experienced the same
any
thing.
mother that was pregnant ended up having to abort their children, and there was over 250,000 women that aborted their children in 120 districts surrounding the Ukraine where the explosion happened. But they don't talk about that. I mean,
No,
250,000 children
because the
wiped
Russians
out.
don't want you to know. Because the Russians
They
don't want
didn't.
you to know. But
That's
it
right.
was very horrible, and the safety instructions were terrible. I mean, there was no safety, and using graphite was the biggest problem because
Right.
graphite just continues to burn, and plutonium just continues to spew out radioactive activity for years to come. Now the place is closed off. In fact, it's just exactly as it was in 1986, on April 26, 1986. Nothing. They couldn't move anything because there's so much radiation. They don't want anybody near the place.
Well, they estimated it would be like 50 years before the radiation will this what is that word? Dissipate? But
Dissipate, dissipate,
yeah,
dissipate. Yeah,
dissipate. Yeah,
because
dissipate.
of
That's
the
it.
half life. Because of the half
My
life that is.
Hungarian's coming out, sorry. But
Oh, that's
yeah,
okay.
I
That's
mean,
okay.
that's 50 years. So that's my daughter died 38 years ago, August 29th, 1986.
Oh my
And I
God,
mean, that's so devastating to
it
hold a
is
dead
very
baby,
devastating.
knowing that it was a disaster, that the nuclear bomb killed her.
Yeah, because
And
it. Yeah, because they didn't have the safety precautions, and there was a lot of and there was a lot of cover-ups with this. There was a lot of
right. And
underhandedness in corruption, and that's what
yes,
caused. And it wasn't because of Ukraine; it was because of the
no,
Soviet Union.
that's right. I do not blame Ukraine because it was the Soviet Union. And the thought of
Exactly.
it, knowing that I was there doing peacekeeping for the Canadian military to, keep
Yes.
Europe in a
Yeah.
peace, and my daughter dies because of it. And I could have died, but my other
Of
3
course.
children are suffering from thyroid cancers and all kinds of stuff, and
That's
there's
horrible.
no help for them, but yet children are still born in the Ukraine with all these disabilities. So is that why Trump wants to get rid of them, to destroy them, because they have no life? I mean, children with disabilities are probably some of the smartest kids that I've
Oh,
seen.
absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that they're useless. So,
Exactly.
to hear these
Exactly.
words to destroy, not help the disabled
Yeah, Trump.
children,
Yeah,
and
Trump does not like people with disabilities. That is one thing he doesn't, and it's
he
really sad.
doesn't. He
Yeah,
thinks
he
it's
has
a
an issue.
waste of
I mean,
money to
I mean, he
save
made
them.
fun of he made fun of a reporter who had CP from New York Times.
Yeah,
So
alive.
yeah, and that was really
Yeah,
horrible. So I don't know if that's the actual reason, but I don't know. I don't even know how much he knows about Chernobyl or anything like that. But I do know that there was a lot of cover-ups, and it has
lot.
really in
Yeah,
that area, not in all of Ukraine, but in that area. In that
yeah.
general area, in that general oblast is
I
where
know
most of the
HBO did a documentary, and they won the red carpet in 2018 doing the documentary of the Chernobyl, and
right.
but they didn't mention of all the children that died, and the land, how it's useless because you can't grow anything on it.
Yeah,
The
everything is just the
dogs,
way it
the
was in
animals are
1946.
walking around like they're bones.
Yeah,
There's no meat on these animals because there's no anything growing for them there, right?
nothing.
It's
You
still
can't
it's
do nothing
still
because
like
everything is
go,
roped off because they don't want
yeah,
people near the place because they're
well,
worried
that's
about
it.
cancer.
Yeah.
So
So, Ukraine has suffered a lot, and I believe
yeah,
it's time to bring them peace. So, in
definitely,
ending this,
definitely.
my last words to Ukraine and Zelensky out there, you're doing good. You are powerful. You just need more supporters like us here in Canada and all the countries in Europe. We're all here for you. And Dr. Professor Reagan, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you. You know,
Thank you. It's
tell
been
us
an honor
that,
and a pleasure to be with you, to be on your podcast. And I also want to say that to the Ukrainian people that I know I can't do much, but I'm going to do whatever I can to help you, and I'm going to continue to do whatever I can to help you. Slava Ukraini, Heroam Slava. Thank you.
and from us here in Canada as well. Thank you, Dr. Reagan. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
welcome. I'd like to thank everyone that's joined us today on Let's Talk Real Talk. You want to share a 30-minute to 60-minute segment with anything you want to talk about, please join us here. Contact me on Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you, everybody, again, and have a pleasant day, and peace to the world. God bless.
God bless. Thank you.
Goodbye.